Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of this doing a chat app in gRPC using technology like gRPC, Redis, and React and Envoy. So if you haven't watched the first video, I highly recommend it. We did a bunch of setup over there, which won't make sense over here. So if you haven't watched that video, but for everyone else, let's get to it. Alright, so let's draw out our pseudocode over here. So we want our chat initiate function or our RPC call to check whether they're sending valid data. And if there is valid data, then we want to reach into the database. We want to check if the user with name already exists and is online, because if so, then return an error. We can't have two users with the same name online at the same time. So essentially, if not, then turn that user online, get them online, and send the user number back. So the user number back. Okay, so let's do that right now. So reach into the database. So we have Redis set up, but we still need a few clients for Redis. Okay, so what we're gonna do is yarn add Redis. So that's going to give us the Redis things that we need. So we'll do yarn. I had one too many D's over there. So yarn add Redis over here. So that's gonna give us our Redis client that we can use to talk to. So let's just touch a data.tsx file over here and let's get to it, right? So we go inside data. So we import Redis from Redis over here, and then we just do redis.create. Oh, I also need the type definitions. Yes, so let's do that too. So yarn add --dev add types.redis. So this tells me that was a good indicator that I needed that. So now I can do dot create client over here. Beautiful. I don't have to waste time. So over here I just do const client is equal to Redis create client. And the beautiful thing is, well, right now in our local development we don't need a credentials. There's nothing to secure. If you deploy this, please look into how you can secure this with actual credentials, because our Docker Compose over here specifically says allow empty password. We can just make that connection without any stress. And also we're using the Redis default ports. So over here it's just going to work because it's going to take all the default configurations. So now since we got that out of the way, let's create some Redis keys over here, because keys are a big thing. So we'll do Redis keys over here is equal to 2, right? We're going to have our broadcast room, right? And that's just going to be room 0, and we're going to store all the messages in there. And we also need our users over here, which will just be users, right? We're gonna just append all our users in there. So let's just double check whether Redis is online as well. So we're just gonna attach some callback functions. So client.on error, right? We're just going to console log error, and then client.on connect. We're just going to do console log over here. So that's just going to log anything that we can see, help us debug what's going on. So now we want to make functions that reach into our database, get our list of users, and also insert the users. So let's do that right now. So let's first insert a user. So we'll do export function add user. And this will actually, let's make this const because I've had trouble defining just function declarations. So over here, so we just going to be needing a user object. So we'll just do user, and the type will be user. So over here we get some IntelliSense with the code. So it's telling me that, hey, the closest thing to user is inside proto random package. So we actually want to use the type defined over here. So let's go over here and see it. We want to store the ID, we want to store the name, we want to store their status, and we want to store their avatar URL. So this is exactly what we need. So let's do that over there. And over here, all I have to do is say client dot r push, right? It's just going to be another list. So r push, and then I do redis.keys.user. So I'm sending the key. And then finally, so Redis is a key value store, and the value is always string. So what you would have to do always is to stringify your JSON object that's coming in, right? So that'll work over there. And now let's notice something over here. So it takes in an optional callback, and the callback returns some sort of number. So let's figure out what's going on over here. So if we do error and then n, right? I just want to see the type declarations over here. So this one is an error, and this one is a number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a type definition over here and just call it error callback, right? And so essentially it's just going to be a thing that takes in a user of user over here. And actually, no, what am I doing? I'm trying to make a method signature for this. So it is the error for the error, and then it's going to be some sort of payload back. So what I'm going to do is just say data, and it's going to be of type T. Now, if people that don't know TypeScript too well, there's this thing called generics. So you can pass in generics over here to get the types that you need. So what I mean by that is I'm going to pass in a function over here that's going to be typed error. That's going to be typed error callback, right? It's going to be typed error callback. And then I'm going to pass in the type that I expected, but in this case, it's going to be number. So over here now, since this is a number, it's returning a number and it's returning an error. Well, now we can use this exact same function in here, and TypeScript will not complain. And let's also make this optional because, you know, optional. Okay, so yeah, exposing at that. So now we get this nice type definition with a generic. So what's cool is if I change this to string, let's see what happens. It complains now. It's like, hey, you said it's a string, but I'm telling you it's a number. So that's a little bit something cool about TypeScript. If you don't know, I'll make a video about generics and stuff like that. Super useful, like even right now. So what can we do now? Let's see. First of all, this is just going to be void, and that's going to fix that. So this is how we add a user. Now let's get our users. So export const list users, list users, and over here I just want to get all the users regardless. It doesn't really matter. So what's going to happen is I need to reach into Redis. So red client dot what was it? Client dot L range. Okay, so L range is going to get us the range of the specific key. So it's going to be Redis keys dot users, and we get so the range of what we want. So we want to start at index 0, and we want to get all of it, right? So if you remember, Python works like this. I'm pretty sure JavaScript doesn't, but if you specify 0 as start and your end as -1, it gets you the entire range. So this is like a cheat to just get it all. And finally, another callback. So again, I need to figure out what am I getting back over here. Okay, so it was pretty descriptive over there. So it says, again, this is an error, and this is an array of strings. So now it's an array of the list of the different users, and they're all going to be in string format. So what I need to do is I need to parse that. I need to send that back out. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just gonna say, you know what, if error, then just return the error. Otherwise, I want to parse this. So I'm going to have const users. So const users is equal to, it's actually typed as an array of users, right? And I'll just declare that as empty. And now I just need to iterate over my response. So for off, let's say row in response. I'll just say rows. You know what? It's not really a database, but you know, you can still think of it as rows and rows. So now what I want to do is I know that the string that I stored in is going to be a user type. So what I'm going to do is const user is equal to json.parse, right? I'm parsing the string, and then I want to type it as a user over here. So as user. So now all I need to do is users.push the user, and now at the very end I can just return the users over here. But now this just returns it inside the scope of this callback function. So we actually need to pass a callback function over here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use this error callback over here, and we'll just say function, and it's going to be an error callback. And essentially, it's going to be the same thing. I expect my data to be an array of users over here. So now all I have to do is I need to, instead of returning the error, I just return I return by calling the function, and I pass the error, and my array, it's just going to be an empty array. It doesn't really matter. Otherwise, there seems to be a syntax error over here. We can fix that. Bada bing. And then finally at the very end, I'm just going to call my function over here. There's going to be no error, so I'll just pass that in. But and then my data, which is just going to be users over here. So that's it for that. So I can list my users, I can add my users, and that's really all I need right now. So let's go back to my server and let's leverage all of that. So let's import from data, and we're just going to list users over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to call that function list users, and it's going to take in a callback of an error and users, right? So now what I want to do is I want to see whether that user exists in the database and if that user is offline. So I'm just going to do something like, first of all, I'll just do if error, then just return callback error, and that's about it. Otherwise, I'll just do users.find, and then I just want to find a specific user with the name. So I want to do .toLower because I want it to be case insensitive. If that is equal to session name, then I have a user over here. Const db user, right? And this could be a user declared, but the value could not be used over here. Essentially, this could be this could be undefined as well. So what I need to do is if no db user, then I want to start storing my user in. So I want to go over here and say add user, right? So first I want to generate my user over here. So I'll just say const user is equal to that, and it's going to be typed with the user from proto. We don't have to generate that, thank goodness. And it's just going to be math.floor. Actually, I'll just copy this over here. This is breaking some dry principles, but you know what, it gets it done. So the status over here is going to be status dot online, right? Because they just initiated a request. Their name is going to be session name, and their avatar URL is just going to be avatar over here. So that's my user now, and now I can just pretty much just add user, and I just pass in my user over here, and then my callback with the error, and I don't need the data. So all I need to do is error, and then finally if I say if error, then return callback with the error. Otherwise, if that's all fine and dandy, then I just want to return callback with a null error. There's no error. And we want to send back the user.id. Right, that's the main thing that matters. And again, it's actually an object of an ID, so that's what we need. And that's pretty much it. So if the user doesn't exist, then we do this. We do this over here, but if they do exist, right? If they do exist, then we do want to check if their status is offline. So if db user dot status is equal to status dot online, then I just want to return a callback saying new error. This will be user exists and is online. So that should be it for that error handling. So now that means now this user is sort of coming back. We're trusting the users in this case, but you know what? This should be a better mechanism for verifying. But this is the best that we can do right now for this demo. So now we just want to, we know that user is online, so that means it's probably offline. So db user.status is equal to status.online, right? And then we just want to save that user back in. So we have our add, we have our list, we need our update. So the update is a bit interesting. So I'll show you what I mean. So export const update user, right? And it's just going to take the user over here, and just a function. I'll just leave that empty for now, and I'll declare that later. So now I want to list, I need to go through all my users and check for that specific user. So what I need to do again is call list users over here, and again it's going to take an error and list of users over here, and now some simple error checking over here, then return error. Otherwise, I want to get my user at the index. It's very important to update a list. I need a specific index. So let's do that. So I is equal to users.find index, and it's going to be a user over here. And pretty much if user.id is equal to the passed in user ID, then that is my currently found user. So, but if I is equal to -1, that's how find index works. We just want to return an error. We just want to return a new error. User was not found, right? Is user not found? All right. So now we just have to update this user. So now all we have to do is client.lset list set, and all we have to do is Redis. We got to get the key first. So Redis keys.user, and then we want to update it at a specific index, and we got that index over there at the top. So index 1, right? And all we have to do now is to json.stringify the user at that. So it will update that specific index at that spot. And this is going to be a very fast operation over here, minus the fact that we're getting all the users and iterating it. At least updating it will be faster. So now this also returns a function. It just returns a function and something called OK, right? It just returns an OK, but I can check if it's an error, then it's an error. If it's not, then it's not. So again, this will be another callback function, right? And it'll be an error callback. And what type this will be? So to be honest, there's no type associated with this because we're just updating the user. We don't necessarily care about getting the user back. So I'll just say unknown over here, and let's use this now. So function over here, wrap that in. Function over here, wrap that in. And finally, just put function over here, right? Just put our function over here. There seems to be some sort of syntax problem. Argument data is not provided. Argument data is not provided. Okay, so let's just do null, null, and null. And yeah, that is it. So that's what we have to do to update our users. So now if we go over here, we change the status to online. So now we just have to do update user, db user, and pretty much we're just checking whether an error exists, right? So if error, then return callback error. So that will give us that. And as soon as the user is updated, then we just want to, again, return a callback with no error. And we'll be like, okay, we found your ID now. Your ID is going to be dbuser.id. Boom. And that's essentially all we need, right? That's the logic that we need to set this up. So a user comes in, checks whether they have a valid session name and avatar. If they don't, then return an error. If they do, then list all the users, find whether that user exists in there, right? I'm trying to find the list of users over here. If the user is undefined, there's probably a better way to do this. So we can do the same thing over here that we did over here for finding users. So let's see. Yeah, I could probably abstract this. I don't need all the users, so I'll say export const find user, right? And it's just going to find a user at a specific name, right? That's all we care about. So we're just gonna say user name is gonna be string, and it's going to take in some callback function at the very end. Okay, so this is going to be sort of a waste of time, so I'm just going to stick with this for now. This will be fine and will do the job that we need. So let's see how this goes, right? Let's see if we get a valid user back. So the user in this case will forever be online in the first place. So there's a few syntax problems over here. That is fine. We can fix that up. Oh, okay, my bad. I'm kind of in the React world over here, and I put TSX, but that should just be TS over here. So let's just run this again and see what we get. Yeah, that's fine. Object could possibly be null or undefined. That totally makes sense. So we can fix that up right now. So we can do some short circuiting over here. So user name could be undefined, so I'll just change that to that. User.status over here could also be possibly undefined over here. Object possibly undefined, object possibly undefined. Let's see. Let's just run this one more time and see if that fixes that. Yeah, so that fixes the first problem we were having over there. It's undefined, but I have this check over here, which is interesting. So I'll just say dbuser is equal to undefined, right? Would TypeScript stop complaining then? Is that because it's not in an else statement? Oh, okay, I see. Oh, okay, so let's just do this then. So else this, and then I can do all this business logic. Can do all this business logic inside here. Save that and then rerun the application. Yeah, so that got rid of that. So now it's just complaining about stuff inside data. So let's fix that right now. So type error callback number or undefined is not assignable to parameter string callback number. Argument of type null is not assignable. Okay, so this error callback can either be an error or null. So let's do that right there. That's perfectly fine. Yarn start. Oh, connection refused. Okay, so we made some progress. So that actually fixed up all the TypeScript stuff. And the thing that we're missing is our Docker, is our Redis container. So we'll do Docker compose up -d. -d means detach mode, so I don't care about the logs. I'm just offsetting that. And so now if we do a yarn start, we actually have a perfectly good connection. So that's beautiful. We have all our stuff ready. We can check our database too, but let's actually focus on the actual code for the app. So what we're gonna do is go inside our app.tsx over here. We got our name, we got our avatar, and let's see if we get a valid number back and check our database. So first of all, let's bring up, excuse me. Let's go to our database over here. I already have a chat app set up. So I'll bring that over here. And as you see, we don't really have anything in our database, but that is totally fine. So let's go back to our chat app over here. Let's refresh this. Okay, so we got an ID back, right? Which we were getting before as well. So let's see a couple things, right? Let's refresh this, see if we have anything. We have our DB, so that's good. Let's go over here and we have our user. So we have our user now joined in and they are online. And remember how I said like if their status is online, they can't come back again? So let's see if it fails now. So let's restart this and let's see what we have. We have our user again. Is it going to double insert? No. So there's just some code over here somewhere that is offsetting that somewhere. So if DB does else, if DB status is online, then return callback. Over here, let me just console log the DB user, because obviously there is a user that already exists. So I'll just do that. Get that up and running, restart this, and let's see what we have. So we have our user, we have our status over here. And then I'm checking db.status is equal to online. And if it's online, then return a callback. So this is definitely a 1. So why isn't this returning an error? Error. Right, this should be returning an error over here. So I just want to make sure this actually breaks, because this should break. Okay, so it's returning an error. And it's returning a callback, but the callback isn't working because why isn't this working? Callback server error, blah, 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 blah. Return callback. Is that because I'm returning over here? Let's see. I don't think so. I definitely do not think so. So let me return that. Refresh this. Okay, so wait, oh no, that's something else. So the chat initiate over here is still passing. Okay, so I'll figure that out. I'm not sure exactly why that would be happening. There is an error that gets sent out. Oh, probably because it doesn't send an actual error. Let's see. So if we go to app over here and we do a console log error, let's see what we get back, because maybe we do get an error back, but we don't. Okay, so ignoring that, we can fix that later. Let's actually start initiating our chat now. So over here we've made our callback. Let's ignore this. Okay, that's why it's happening. It's returning early over here. Okay, guys, I can't believe I'm a software engineer. This is embarrassing. Okay, so now if we do that, yarn start, and we refresh this over here, bada bing, we get an error. We get an error, so that's good. You know, user already exists and is online. And if we go to our network tab, we actually see do we see an error? Or is it just masked as something else? Okay, it's masked as a success, but the end result is that there is an error over here. So that's good. So we're getting an error and it's breaking, so that's perfect. All right, so now let's create our other handlers that we have. We have our chat stream. Actually, let's make our send message, because that's another unary call that we can just get away with. So it's going to take our call, and it's going to take our callback, right? It's just going to be another function. And again, we want to just destructure some stuff from our call.request. So the things that can be in there is the ID and the message, and that's about it. Yeah, because we can derive the user from the ID. So I'm gonna default the ID to 0. Actually, I'll default it to -1, right? And the message over here I'll default to empty. Is because these could be undefined, and TypeScript is like, why are you doing that? Like if we go over to response, okay, whatever. But pretty much this is undefined, so I can't really do that. So the two things I gotta do is if ID is is -1 falsy. So if I go over here and say not -1, yeah, -1 is falsy. Okay, yeah, so we're getting a true. So if I say not ID or not message, then I just want to return a callback, callback saying new error. I don't know who you are. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to start finding our user. So let's get our user. So again, I want to make helper functions to actually get our user, because otherwise I'm listing through it and then finding it anyways. So I'll just say export const get user, and I'm just gonna get the user by the ID in this case. So I'll say ID is the number, and yeah, again, I'll do the callback stuff later. So what I need to do is list the users, right? So I list the users, I get an error, and I get my users back. This needs to be wrapped inside a curly brackets over there. So what do we have? So if error, then return error. That's pretty straightforward. That's not that one. Round brackets. And now I want to find my user. So const idx is equal to users dot find index, right? Find index, and I'll do user dot id is equal to the ID passed in, right? So if idx is equal to -1, that means that the user is not found. So I'll just return a new error, say user with ID not found. Otherwise, I will just return my user at the index over there. So again, we're using callback function methods. So what I'm gonna do is just do an error, use my error callback function, and it's going to be over here my user, right? That's the thing I want to return. So over here, I'm just gonna do fn the error, or this is gonna be tough. Okay, so that works. Cool. All right, it might actually complain anyway, so let's figure that out later. Otherwise, we return a function where it's null, so no error, and then we return our users at idx over there. Cool. Another thing is we need to return this error over here, and we return an empty object. I do want to see whether TypeScript will fail now, so I'm just going to restart the server. TypeScript does not have a problem with this, or maybe it's because I'm not using this, that's why. So let's give that a shot. So send message. I'm going to get my user at the ID, and it should return me an error or my user. So, oops, I don't want to port. So I just want to say, again, if error, then return my callback with the error over here. Otherwise, I have my user. Congrats, you have your user. So now we can attach a message to the database. So what that would look like now is we have to create our message. So what does our message sort of structure look like? Let's figure that out first. First, let me import this, right? So that fixes that. So let me collapse this and go to Proto over here and see what my message structure looks like. Message. Okay, so we don't have a properly defined message, but that is totally fine. We can create one right over here somewhere. So we can say type message. Probably better to keep it inside our data layer over here. So I'll just say the message stuff over here. So type message is equal to the user ID. So the user that sent the message is going to be number. We want the message, obviously, so that's going to be a string. We want the avatar. We want to save that as well. So that's also going to be a string. What else do we need? That's about it, right? We just need the user ID, the message, and the avatar. So let's go with that. So over here, I'll just say const message is equal, or const message with type message is not getting populated over here because I did not export it. So let's export that right now. So export message. So now if I do message, I get that in, and then I can start populating my message. So the user ID is equal to the ID, and the message is equal to the message, and then the avatar URL is equal to the user.avatar URL. Also, it's probably best to just do user.id over here because it's coming straight from the database. Okay, so we found our user for this message. Now we just have to insert into the list of messages. So what I'll do here is just do export const add. What's a good name for this? I want to add to the chat main room. Yeah, so add message to chat or to room. Okay, so what's that going to do is going to take a message with the type message over here, and then all I have to do is client.rpush, right? I want to rpush the message into a specific key. So Redis keys dot broadcast room, and now essentially I just want to JSON stringify it. So JSON dot stringify the message over here. Finally, I think I get a callback again, error, and some gibberish over here. I keep forgetting, so I need to do this. So we got an error type, and we have a number. Okay, so the number is probably the index to the specific message. So we don't necessarily need that. So what we're going to do is just take a function, though, and then type it as error callback, and it's just going to be a number. So now I can just do this and just get away with it. Cool. All right, so we just added the message to the main room. Let's do something, save ourselves some hassle, and actually let me not jump too much to the future. Okay, so now we got our message, and now we just have to add message to room, right? So we want to pass our message over here, and we get a callback with the error, right? Get our callback with the error, and then if error, then we just return callback with the error. Otherwise, So the error could be null. So and my response also could be null. So at this case, at this point, I'd rather just return the callback and just get it over with. And if you really want to short form this, you can just like do this, and that just becomes super short over here. Also, can I get some formatting up in here? So format with prettier, bang. Okay, so send message over here, takes a callback, and then we check if the ID is falsy, the message is falsy. If it is, then we send an error. If it's not, then we get the user with that ID, and we'll check if that user exists. So if there's an error, then it's gonna throw something. Otherwise, it's gonna store that message into this message room. Sweet. So now let's do our streaming stuff. So let's do the chat stream first. So the chat stream is just gonna pass us a call object. That's really all we need for this. So this is interesting now. So the call object again is gonna pass us an ID. So we'll do call.request, right? And we're just going to do a -1 over here. And we are just going to do this simple plain old validation over here. So we don't need this, right? But now in this case, we don't have a callback. So instead, we just have to do a call.end, right? And that's about it, right? Call.end, and that's about it. Let's see if we do call.write, right? And this is going to take a chunk and a callback message. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so now we just ended the call session over here, so a user can't really spam us. And now let's get that specific user. So I'm going to do this over here to get that specific user and check everything over there. And then again, we're just going to do a call.end over here, just so it doesn't cause any issues. And then we have our user. It's cool. All right. So now, since we have the user, we validated the user exists. So now we can send the user all the chat messages that are in this room. So I need to make another helper function over here called export const list messages in room, right? And it's just going to be a function because I just want it all, right? Like just give me all of it. So client.l range, and it's going to be the Redis keys dot broadcast room, right? Broadcast room, and it's going to be from the 0 index to the -1, which means all. And then finally, it's going to be the callback with the error and the rows. Okay, so now again, we're going to do some sanitizing of these rows. So for off, this is going to be a row, and this is going to be rows. Okay, so going to be rows. What's going on here? So rows is declared of type any, but you're right over here. There's probably a syntax error somewhere that I don't see. I'll figure that out. Okay, so const message is equal to json.parse row, right, as message, right? That's the format that I put it in. Block scope rows is used before it's declared. You're right over here, dude. What do you mean? Let's figure this out. So we have this over here. We close this over here. If error, then return error. So we have access to that. Rows, for some reason, I don't have access to. So for off rows. Okay, that works. Well, what's different? What's different? Oh my god, someone probably will notice it in the chat and be like, that was different, Floyd, and you didn't see it. Well, whatever, you know? You win some, you lose some. So, rows, you can cancel this over here. So now I want to have a list of messages. So I will say const messages is equal to an array, but I will initialize its type as array message. Cool. So now we just have to do messages.push message. So now we got our messages over here. And finally, after that, we just return our messages. Cool. Let's see, property push does not exist on type message, but it's not, it's on type messages. So that fixes that. Oops, then that fixes that. Okay, so now we need a callback function again, right? Everything here is callback function. If any of you want to refactor this into an async await type scenario, totally do it, 100%, this will work. But for this case, I feel like callback functions will work faster. I need to wrap a bunch of stuff. But anyways, so it's going to be an error callback, and it's going to give us an array of messages, right? So we have that over here. So fn, and we return the error. Otherwise, we also return an empty thing over here. And we can do the same thing at the bottom over here, but instead actually return our messages, right? And let's just return null here, be explicit about what we're doing. So this now will give us all our messages. So now all we have to do is list messages in main room. So we can say const messages is equal to list messages in main room. And messages in main room. I don't know why I said that. So now it's going to take an error, and then it's going to be our messages over here. So list messages in room, that imports that. Another interesting thing is that, let me check the proto definitions for chat stream. So we have stream message over here, and it's going to be an ID of message. So that's the stream message, and that's the message request. So the message request and the stream message are actually exactly the same, but I don't want them to be exactly the same. Okay, so I need a specific ID associated with it. So that's going to be the user ID over here. So the user ID string user avatar is equal to 2, and finally the message, right? So now actually this gives us a type to play with, and we don't need this anymore. So to make that work, let's actually generate our proto definition again. So yarn proto gen. So that generates it for both the client and the server. So now also, so I changed the script now and moved it here. So this generates it for both, so you don't have to worry about it doing it separately. So now we can go to our data over here, and instead of saying message over here, we can now instead say, what's the name of this? Stream message. So we can say over here, stream message. Boom. All right, stream message, stream message, stream message, stream message, save, go over here, go at the very bottom, stream message. Boom. Actually this, I need to import it first. So stream message over here, that fixes that. So stream message takes a user ID, blah, 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 blah. So let's see, use ID. Why is this ID? I thought I saved this as user ID. Let's see this type, maybe. Okay, so I need to probably restart this. That's, whoops. I need to probably restart this because it's lying. It's perfectly fine. Okay, over here now, this is the annoying part. So this is user avatar. So now that saves that. And now we don't have to worry about managing another type. Let's go over here and delete this because message doesn't exist. And now we are back to where we were, but now we're using the TypeScript's definition. Everything is one, so it's perfect. All right. So, yeah, that's about it for the chat message, like the chat stream over here. All we're gonna do is just return our messages. In this case, our messages is actually just one message, and in this case, as soon as you join the chat stream, we get all the messages. So we'd have to do something to iterate over it and send it to everyone, which doesn't sound nice, but for now this will work. So for of messages in message, right? Message, I just want to do a call dot write, and I just want to write the message in there. So it's going to spam the messages to the user, which is exactly what we need. So if error call dot end. So this call object over here is our gateway to how we can stream messages back to the client. So we kind of need to keep this in check somewhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to save the call object, the stream object, on the server. And this is totally fine, right? I said that we would, the server needs to be stateful in this scenario. You can't really save this call function inside a database, because a database is only store data, and this is a whole function and whole mechanism underneath. So what we're going to do is, I remember how I commented this out, so I'm going to uncomment this. Call object by username. I'm just going to say call object by user ID. So user ID. And so now it's going to be a server duplex stream, right? That's what the call object is. The key is going to be a number, right? Because it's going to be an ID. And then this over here is going to be the stream request and this stream message. So let's go over here and say stream request, and over here stream message. Cool. All right, so that actually does it for that. So after we're done sending all the messages, what we're going to do now is to store that call object inside our memory. So we're just going to do call object by username, set it by the user.id, right? And we're going to just store the call object in there. So over here, the call object cannot be stored. Let's see what's going on. So argument type writable stream, stream request output, stream message is not assignable to parameter, stream request, and stream. Okay, so it has to be stream request output. I guess that's the appropriate type. Let's see. So save that, and I go down here. Let's see what it's coming. It's not assignable to. Wait. Cert. Oh, it has to be this. Has to be this. Okay. So that stores the call object in there. So now we can keep that in memory for when we will need it soon. Okay. So one thing that we can do is, now we got our call stream. So another thing is that we can quickly just rinse and repeat for our user stream, right? So it's going to be our call, and it's going to be this, and essentially it's honestly going to be the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this, more or less going to be the same thing. I'm going to get the user, but instead of listing the messages in the room, I want to list the users that we have currently. So I'm going to list the users, and I get my list of users over here, and I'll say user, and then I want to save the call object. I'll save that later. So let's just Control C that, and instead, what do we have? So the user stream, let's see what we have over here. So the user stream is an array of users. So in this case, I can just batch send all of them. So I can just delete all of this, and then I can just send all my users at once. I will just have to do one of these. User, there you go. So honestly, this should be users as well. So I'm just gonna change that real quick. I have to change that here. That's the correct way to do this. So let me generate this again, and I'll fix that. And then I can just delete this, to be honest. And just for the sake of it, TypeScript's gonna take some time to adjust, so I'll just reload this to give it a boost. So let's just make another one of these, because I need to maintain two streams. I need to maintain my user sort of online stream and my chat stream. So let's do that. So I'll just name this. What should I name this? I should call this message stream. Yeah, message stream by user ID. and this will be user stream by user ID. Okay, so let's just modify this over here, and then I go down over here and say user stream by user ID, and I save this call object in there. This call object is different, so instead of taking that, I will need the user response instead. So that will give me, cannot find, oh, okay, because I didn't import it. User stream response. Okay, there you go. So that saves that, okay? One thing to note is that users can now join, and only when they join, they will get the list of messages and the list of users that are on the chat. What happens if the user disconnects? We want to mark them offline and clean up the resources that they have. So I'll do this only in one place because that only matters in one of the streams. And the one place that I think that it matters is the chat stream. If they don't have a valid chat stream, then I just want to mark them offline, right? That's pretty much it. So I'll just do call dot on, and the message that we have to listen for is not even in IntelliSense. TypeScript needs to adjust that. It's called canceled. So when the event is canceled, right? When the event is canceled, we want to do our cleanup over here. So what I'm going to do is take and delete the call object. So I'll say delete call object, add user ID. Cannot find user by name because user is inside this scope over here. So I'll just attach it over here then inside this. That'll make it accessible. And yeah, so I delete that. And what else do I have to do? Oh, I have to mark them offline. So I just do user.status is equal to status.offline, and then do update user, pass the user in, and then I gotta take an error callback. Right, that's all I care about. And then once that is safely been adjusted, then I will delete the user from it. So let me just make this into something less verbose. Actually, I need that because I just realized if error handling is very important, my fellas, very, very important. If error, then let's just console log the error, because we can't do anything at this point. We can't really cancel the stream because it's already canceled, like they canceled it. So console error. Okay, and then we delete that and then we cancel it. Cool. So now we have a mechanism to keep people online and offline. So that's like really, really powerful. Okay, so now we have our user stream, we have our chat stream, we have our send message stream, blah, 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 blah. Let's now sort of get this stuff in our database. Well, not in our database. So we need a pubsub mechanism to sort of allow us to horizontally scale. Because right now, we're only getting messages when the user joins. So when the user joins the chat stream, then they will get all the list of messages, and that's it. We need an event-based system which tells us, hey, there's a new message in the chat, propagate that into the other users. So we need to build out that mechanism finally, and as soon as we get that done, that finishes the server-side aspect of things, and then we can move on to our client-side aspect of things. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna call it quits for this video now. I'm gonna finish everything off in the last bit, so the third part of this video. If you are excited about this and you really enjoyed this video, please show your support, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a subscribe, anything to show some love, and it really goes a long way. But for everyone else, please have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.